The most dangerous person in the room isn't the one making the loudest moves. It's the one who's been watching you in silence, memorizing every single play you make. Now imagine this for a moment, chosen one. Your enemy thought they were playing a game of cards with you, but little did they know you weren't even sitting at the same table. You were in the shadows watching the entire board from above, seeing every bluff, every slip, every weakness. And while they were so busy trying to put on a show for others, you were quietly stacking the pieces in your favor. That's not luck. That's pure strategy. Here's a fact they'll never admit. Studies in human psychology show that people reveal more in their smallest actions than in their loudest words. A shift in tone, a glance, a fake laugh, it's all data, and you've been collecting it without saying a word. They thought they had you figured out, but really you had the entire map of their behavior before they even made their next move. And now, their next move is useless. And thank you, chosen one. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing like and subscribing so we can spread this truth to more souls. It's the responsibility of all of us to keep the light burning. And thank you, chosen one, for being part of this mission. Because you are not just a listener, you are part of a force. So let's get back to it. This game they thought they were winning, it was never theirs. You never showed your hand, and that was your greatest weapon. While they were desperate to prove themselves, to show their cards too soon, you mastered the art of patience. You sat back, eyes sharp, reading the room like a seasoned chess player. And the thing about chess is, real masters never rush. They let their opponent feel comfortable, even cocky, before sealing their fate with one final, silent move. They thought your silence meant weakness, but in reality, it was your shield and your sword. They thought your quiet nature meant you were naive, but you were simply letting them dig their own pit, brick by brick, lie by lie. You knew the whole time who was loyal, who was fake, and who was secretly hoping to see you fail. You noticed how their tone changed when you walked in, how they looked at each other before speaking, how they tried to plant seeds of doubt around you. And you said nothing. You smiled. You nodded. You kept your power tucked away where they couldn't touch it. And now? Now they realize they've been playing checkers while you've been playing chess. They walk straight into a checkmate they can't undo. The moment they understand you've seen everything, that every whispered insult, every hidden agenda, every small betrayal is burned into your memory, is the moment they feel the floor drop under them. They're not dealing with the person they thought you were. They're facing someone they can't predict, someone they can't manipulate, someone who's already 10 steps ahead. The universe has a funny way of protecting those who protect their energy. By refusing to reveal your hand, you've given yourself the gift of control. You've allowed truth to unfold naturally without you having to lift a finger. And when the truth finally hits them, it won't be gentle. It'll be like a tidal wave they never saw coming. Their carefully built mask will crack and they'll scramble, but it'll be too late. You've already won. This is why, chosen one, your silence terrifies them more than your words ever could, because words can be argued with, twisted, denied, but observation, that's undeniable. You were the witness to their every move, and now they're trapped in the reality they created. And in this game, there's only one outcome: checkmate. So, chosen one, are you ready to break this down move by move? If you've been holding your cards close, if you've been quietly watching the game unfold, knowing exactly when to strike, then you're going to feel this message in your bones. Drop a comment below with the word 777 if you're ready to own the power of your silence. And if you can, take a second to fuel this mission. Whether it's a like, a share, or a gift of any size, it all keeps this force moving forward. Because bringing you this truth takes energy, focus, and work. And when you give back, you're not just supporting a message, you're protecting a movement. And now, let's step into it together, one calculated move at a time. Stay with me till the very end, because if you've truly been playing the long game, what I'm about to reveal will feel like the final piece you've been waiting for. Let's begin. Number 1. The first crack in their armor. The mask never falls all at once. It slips one crack at a time, and once you've seen through it, there's no way for them to hide again. It doesn't start with an explosion. It starts with something small, almost invisible to the untrained eye. A stutter in their confidence, a glance they hold too long, the way their laugh suddenly sounds hollow when you enter the room. And in that tiny slip, chosen one, you see the truth leak out like a drop of ink in clear water. Impossible to ignore once it's there. Now imagine this. They've been playing a game for months, maybe years, believing they've got you fooled. They think they're the ones watching you, keeping tabs on every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But here's the twist. They've been under your watch the entire time. While they were busy setting traps, they never noticed the tripwire already wrapped around their own ankle. You weren't reacting. You were recording. You weren't guessing. You were studying. And here's the part that eats them alive. You never gave them the satisfaction of knowing you caught them. You let them keep performing. You let them keep smiling in your face, thinking they were clever, thinking they were ahead, and in that silence you became the one in control. They don't know when it happened, but they feel it now. That sinking sensation in their gut that says something is wrong. It's the way your presence makes their skin tighten, the way your eyes feel like they can strip their excuses down to bare bone. You flip the script. Suddenly they're not the hunter, they're the hunted. And worst of all, you're not even chasing them. You're just watching. And nothing is more terrifying than being observed by someone you can't read. This is where the fear creeps in. They start replaying every conversation they've ever had with you, wondering which moment gave them away. Was it the envy they tried to hide behind sarcastic jokes? Was it the fake support that felt just a little too polished? Was it the way they accidentally left you out of the loop while pretending it was an oversight? Every memory becomes a question mark, and those question marks start suffocating them. They might ask themselves, do they know? Do they know what I said? Do they know what I did? And the answer, chosen one, is yes. You've always known. And that's the part they can't stand. The fact that you've been holding this knowledge without using it against them. Yet. That yet becomes the drum beat in their chest. They notice the shift in themselves before anyone else does. Their laughter starts to feel forced, their confidence starts to falter, and suddenly they're making mistakes they never made before. Why? Because paranoia destroys precision. They're so busy wondering if you've caught them that they start tripping over their own lies. It's a slow unraveling, but you see every thread come loose. The beauty of your silence is that it traps them in their own mind. Words can be argued with, twisted, denied, but the quiet way you watch them, that's undeniable. It's like standing under a spotlight without knowing which moment the curtain will drop. They can't predict you, and that unpredictability is a weapon sharper than any confrontation. You see, chosen one, the real checkmate isn't when you shout, I caught you. It's when you let them catch themselves, when you simply give them the space to collapse under the weight of their own guilt and fear. That's why you never showed your hand. It wasn't necessary. Every move they made was just leading them closer to the trap they didn't know existed. And don't think for a second they don't feel it. They do. Every interaction becomes a test they're afraid to fail. They start avoiding eye contact, or worse, overcompensating with fake warmth that only makes them look more suspicious. Their body language betrays them. A tightened jaw, a clenched fist, that twitch in their smile that only lasts half a second, but you see it every time. You can almost hear the gears grinding in their mind as they try to figure out exactly what you know. That's the magic of your observation. You never confirm, you never deny, you just let them stew in uncertainty. And the truth is, uncertainty will break a person faster than truth ever will. And here's the hard fact for them. They underestimated the wrong person. They thought you were a background character, someone to overlook, someone they could step over without consequence. But quiet doesn't mean powerless. Silence doesn't mean ignorance. Stillness doesn't mean surrender. You've been the storm building behind the horizon, and now the first rumble of thunder has reached their ears. They know the downpour is coming, they just don't know when. That's why the first slip matters so much. It's not just a sign, it's the unraveling of everything they built. From that point forward, they're no longer in control of the game. You are. You own the pace, you own the timing, and you own the ending. And the most delicious part? You don't even have to rush. They'll destroy themselves trying to guess your next move. The first crack in their armor is the most important one, because once it appears, there's no going back. You've seen behind the curtain, you know the truth, and no matter how hard they try to patch it up, it will never be the same again. That's the cost of underestimating a chosen one who knows the value of patience. So let them sweat, let them wonder, let them replay every moment until they can't sleep at night. Because in this game, your silence is not just golden, it's lethal. And when the time comes for the final move, they'll realize the truth too late. You never needed to show your hand to win. You were always in checkmate position. Number 2, the predator who never misses. Patience isn't weakness, it's the sharpest weapon a predator owns. Sometimes the deadliest move is no move at all. When you know the ending, you can let the story write itself. The prey thinks it's running free until it looks up and realizes it's been in your sights the whole time. You didn't just see them, chosen one, you studied them. You didn't just hear them, you listened in ways they'll never understand. You didn't react to their petty games, their whispers, their stolen ideas, because you were never here to play on their level. You were here to own the field. And like a predator who knows the exact moment to strike, you stayed unmoved, unbothered, letting them wander deeper into the open without ever realizing how exposed they truly were. Now imagine this. You're deep in the forest. You know there's something watching you, but you can't see it. You keep moving, telling yourself it's nothing. But every step you take, every sound you make, is being tracked, recorded, calculated. That's exactly what you've been doing to them. While they've been laughing behind your back, thinking they're out of your sight, you've been there all along, in the shadows with every detail burned into memory. Every whisper, they thought it was private. Every time they tried to paint you as less, they believed no one would connect the dots. Every idea they stole and tried to pass off as their own, they thought you'd never notice. But you did. You noticed everything. And the more they thought they were winning, the deeper they dug their own pit. Some of you might be thinking, why didn't I call them out sooner? Why didn't I stop them the moment I caught them? Because you knew better, chosen one. You knew the value of letting the rope get longer, long enough for them to tie their own noose. You knew that confrontation isn't always the most powerful weapon. Sometimes the most devastating blow comes from allowing someone to believe they've gotten away with it, right before the truth catches up and shatters them. Here's another image for you. Think of a chess master. They don't lunge at every opportunity. They let the other player move freely, even when they could take a piece early. They watch patterns, study weaknesses, and lure their opponent into thinking they're in control. And then, with one final move, they flip the board without ever raising their voice. That's exactly what you've been doing. You weren't a clueless target. They were your unwitting opponent in a game they didn't even know they were losing. They wanted to control the game, but the truth, you were the one writing the rules. Every victory they thought they had was a move you allowed. Every time they thought they were outsmarting you was just another step in the path you'd already laid out for them. And here's the irony. They thought your nods, your silences, your faint looks of confusion meant you didn't understand. They thought you were easy to manipulate, a passive piece on the board. But your stillness wasn't ignorance, it was power. Stillness meant you could see the whole field without distraction. Stillness meant you could let them think they were building something, all the while knowing it was going to collapse under its own weight. Imagine this. They're building a tower out of cards, smiling at themselves for how tall it's getting, and you're just sitting there watching, knowing the whole time that one small breath will send it all crashing down. That's the position you've been in. And here's the best part. You didn't even have to blow. The tower was always destined to fall because of the shaky foundation they built it on. Some might ask, but why let them move freely? Why not stop the damage? Because you, chosen one, know the truth. Exposing someone too soon only gives them time to rebuild. Letting them run the full length of their game ensures that when it ends completely. There's no reset, no next time, no way for them to pretend it never happened. You waited because you understood the power of timing, and they felt that patience, even if they didn't know it at the time. That's why, in hindsight, their stomach turns. They replay your conversations. They think about your quiet smile, your steady eyes. They wonder, did they know back then? Did they catch me before I even made my next move? And the answer, chosen one, is yes. You knew. You always knew. This is the part that eats them alive. The idea that you were 10 steps ahead the entire time. They can't rewrite the story because you already have the original manuscript. They can't erase what's been seen because you weren't just looking, you were memorizing. And they know that someone who remembers everything is not someone to play against. Imagine being on stage, thinking you're performing flawlessly, only to realize the person in the front row has been recording the whole thing. Every wrong note, every missed line, every slip of the mask. That's you. You didn't interrupt the performance. You didn't boo from the crowd. You just watched and kept the recording. Now the performance is over and they know you have the proof. The most dangerous part for them now is not knowing what you'll do next. Will you reveal everything? Will you let it simmer? Will you just walk away, leaving them to rot in their own paranoia? That uncertainty is worse than any direct confrontation. Confrontation has a beginning and an end. But this has no end. It lives in their head rent-free. And here's where the real checkmate comes in. They realize too late that you were never the prey. You were the hunter from the beginning. You let them move because you knew they'd expose themselves without you having to lift a finger. You knew the game was yours the moment you chose not to play by their rules. And that's why they can't stand it, because they know deep down they lost before they even began. So hold your silence, chosen one. Hold your position, because the hunter never has to explain themselves to the prey. You know what you saw, you know the game they played, and you know you've already won. Number 3, already at the finish line before they even started. The cruelest defeat is realizing your opponent was never competing with you in the first place. You saw them, chosen one, not just their actions, but their patterns. You mapped out every twitch, every glance, every time they copied your words or tried to mirror your style, thinking they could clone what can't be duplicated. They didn't realize they were imitating something rooted in authenticity, and authenticity can't be counterfeited. Imagine this. They've been running a race in their head, looking over their shoulder, desperate to keep pace with you, only to find out you were already at the finish line, watching them tire themselves out for nothing. That moment, the cold realization in their eyes, the way their voice falters, the forced laugh, it's priceless. Some of you might ask, did they really think I didn't notice? Yes, they thought your silence was ignorance. They mistook your patience for passivity. They thought you were busy looking elsewhere. But you were watching, always. And now the truth is closing in on them like a shadow they can't outrun. The paranoia is eating them alive. How much did you see? How long have you known? What pieces of their game have you already dismantled without saying a word? Those questions keep them awake, because you've given them no clues, no tells, no confirmation, only the unbearable weight of your silence. Here's a fact. In human behavior, uncertainty is more psychologically destructive than direct punishment. The mind craves closure, and when it can't get it, it spirals. That's where they're living now, inside a maze you designed without even trying. They made you their rival before you even knew they existed. From the first moment you walked in, their tone shifted, their smiles tightened, their moves became calculated. They weren't moving forward. They were moving around you, always reacting, always adjusting, always trying to match a rhythm they couldn't hear. But here's the irony. You weren't running. You weren't chasing them. You weren't even in their race. You were building, evolving, becoming sharper while they wasted every ounce of energy trying to beat someone who wasn't even looking their way. That's the deepest cut. That's the checkmate they never saw coming. Number 4, their secret addiction was you. Jealousy can imitate, but it can never create. They weren't just watching, chosen one. They were feeding on you. Your presence became their measuring stick. Every move you made was a silent reminder of where they weren't. They copied your style, your ideas, even your phrases, like they could siphon off the very energy that makes you untouchable. But here's the part that gnaws at them. You can't steal the flame without burning yourself in the process. Imagine this. They're trying to bottle lightning, thinking if they hold it long enough, they'll glow like you do. But all they end up with is smoke because they can't replicate the spark that comes from authenticity. And authenticity? That's something you've earned through years of growth, struggle, and evolution. The kind of price they've never been willing to pay. Some of you might wonder, did I ever notice? The truth is, you didn't have to. While they were running mental marathons to beat you, you weren't even on the same track. You were in your own world, creating, expanding, building something they couldn't even envision. You didn't see them as competition because they weren't. You can't compete with someone who's in their own lane. And that's what crushes them. They were fighting an invisible war, throwing every ounce of effort into outshining you, only to realize you weren't even watching. It's like shadowboxing. You swing until your arms are tired, only to find you've been punching at nothing. They wanted to be better than you, but how do you beat someone who was never playing your game? How do you win against someone whose only goal was to evolve into their best self? That's the checkmate they can't process. The fact that they weren't even an opponent. Just a spectator trying to keep up with a race that didn't exist. Now they're drained, worn thin, spiraling in frustration. And the bitter truth? Their real goal was never to surpass you. It was to be you. But that's the one outcome the universe never allows. You can imitate a shadow, but you'll never be the light that casts it. Number 5. The eyes they never escaped. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who sees without being seen. They thought they were the observers, chosen one, but the truth is, they were living under your gaze the entire time. Every glance they thought went unnoticed, you caught it. Every whisper they believed was safe behind closed doors, you felt it in the air before the words even died. Every calculated move they plotted against you, you read it like a script before they ever stepped on stage. Imagine this. They're playing a game of chess, convinced they're moving in secret, but the entire board is under a spotlight you control. They think they're hiding their intentions, but every twitch in their body, every shift in their tone, every fake smile gives them away. They weren't just visible to you, they were transparent. Some of you might ask, why didn't I call them out? Because you didn't need to. The thing about people who believe they're unseen is that they get sloppy. They reveal themselves in ways they can't take back. The cracks in their confidence, the way their voice wavers when they try to sound in control, the fake victories they brag about to cover the losses they can't admit. You saw it all without lifting a finger. They thought they were controlling you, but control requires awareness, and they had none. They whispered your name in shadows, thinking you'd never hear it. They set traps, thinking you'd step right in. They rewrote stories, convinced you'd never question them, but they forgot one thing. A chosen one's awareness is a weapon in itself. Here's the fact. They exposed themselves long before you ever made a move. By the time they realized you were 3 steps ahead, it was too late. They had already shown you exactly who they were, and there's no mask thick enough to cover that truth once it's been seen. You didn't need to chase them, confront them, or tear them down. They did the work for you. And now, every time they wonder how much you know, the answer will haunt them. Everything. Number 6. Letting them build their own trap. The easiest way to destroy an illusion is to let its creator believe it's real. You didn't rush in to expose them, chosen one. You let them build. You let them spin their web, stacking lies on top of lies, painting themselves as the clever one in the story. You let them believe they were ahead, because nothing is more dangerous to the arrogant than unchecked confidence. And then, without lifting more than a finger, you shifted the light. Suddenly, every thread they wove was illuminated, and the web they built became their own prison. Imagine this. They've been building a house in the dark, thinking the walls will protect them. Then you flip the switch, and they realize those walls are made of glass. They can't hide anymore. They are the ones under the microscope now. Every flaw magnified, every crack in their character visible. The observers have become the observed, and for the first time, they know what it feels like to be truly seen. Paranoia grips them. They replay every move, every conversation, every half smile that might have given them away. They ask themselves, what did you see? What do you know? What are you going to do with it? And the silence that answers them is heavier than any truth you could speak. Here's the fact. They can't undo what's been revealed. Once someone has seen through the mask no longer works. That's why they're spiraling. Because you didn't just see one moment, you saw all of it. It began as a whisper in your gut, a quiet knowing that something about you set you apart. You could feel the shifts in energy others missed. You noticed the way people's tone changed when they spoke to you, how some were drawn in, others unsettled, without even knowing why. At first you questioned it, tried to ignore it, even attempted to blend in. But the signs wouldn't let you, and that's the truth they never accounted for. You were always wired to see through illusions. You didn't need to destroy their web, you just needed to let them finish it, so they could trap themselves. Number 7. When the universe starts speaking in code, patterns don't lie. You just have to be the one who notices them. You've seen it, chosen one. The synchronicities, the repeating patterns that show up like breadcrumbs, leading you forward. Moments too exact to be random, too perfectly aligned to be coincidence. They weren't accidents. They were signals, warnings, green lights, quiet confirmations that you've been reading the game correctly the entire time. Imagine this, walking into a room and feeling the temperature change, not because of the air, but because of the energy. You've felt that shift. Your body reacts before your mind catches up. You sense intentions before a single word is spoken. That's not paranoia. That's precision. It's the way your system has always been wired. The dreams were another sign, vivid, sticky, refusing to fade when you woke. Symbols buried in them, messages hidden in details only you could decode. To others, they'd be nonsense. To you, they were instructions. And you followed them, whether consciously or not, because your intuition has always been your sharpest weapon. Some might ask, was I just imagining it? No, you weren't imagining. You weren't overthinking. You were remembering that this life, this body, this exact moment in time is not random placement. You are here with purpose. And here's the shift. The moment you stop doubting it, the day you finally looked at yourself and knew exactly what you were, the entire dynamic changed. You stopped chasing people who could never validate you. You stopped explaining yourself to minds too small to understand you. You stopped trying to prove anything because your existence is the proof. Now you understand why they stare, why they imitate, why they push, test, and challenge you. It's because they can feel it too. They sense the quiet force you carry, and it unsettles them to their core. They know they can't buy it, fake it, or manipulate it into their control, and that terrifies them. Your power is the one variable they can't solve for, the unpredictable factor that turns every plan they make into dust. And the most dangerous part? You don't even have to try. You just have to be. Number 8, point of no return. Once you step into who you truly are, you can never go back to pretending. And now, chosen one, there's no turning back. You've stepped fully into what was always yours, your lane, your power, your truth. Stop right there. Yes, you. This isn't for everyone. If you're just curious, keep scrolling. But if you felt it in your bones, deep, undeniable, then you already know this is for you. You're the one who never fit in, no matter how hard you tried. The one who saw beyond the surface, beyond the games, beyond the noise. They told you to tone it down, to blend in, to accept good enough, but you couldn't. Not because you were rebellious for the sake of it, but because you were never built to follow someone else's blueprint. Good. You were built to stand out, to disrupt, to carry an energy that can't be faked or tamed. You are the light in the dark, the storm that rips through illusions, the presence that can't be shaken no matter how hard they push. While the world runs in frantic circles, you walk your own path, sometimes alone, never for applause, never for approval, but simply because it's the only road that's real to you. And here's the thing, they can't understand it because they haven't lived it. You take what was meant to break you and forge it into something unbreakable. You carry wisdom they could never teach in any room or book because you earned it the hard way. Some of you might be wondering, where do I find others like me? You don't find them by chasing. You find them by standing in your truth long enough for them to recognize you, and when they do, you'll know. You're already past the point of no return. You can't go back to pretending, to silencing yourself, to shrinking so others feel comfortable. That life is over. You've crossed the threshold, and the only direction now is forward. The choice is yours, but understand this. Once you've seen the truth, the lie can never hold you again. Number 9. The day they realized you weren't ordinary. Some people don't notice you until you stop apologizing for existing. You felt it before you could explain it. Chosen one. That strange, almost electric shift in the air. The way your phone glitched the exact moment your thoughts went too deep. The calls that mysteriously dropped. The screen flickers that seemed timed with your moments of clarity. To the average person, it's nothing. But you knew better. It felt like something, seen or unseen, was tuned into your frequency. And then came the people, strangers whose eyes lingered a little too long, random conversations that felt less like small talk and more like they were fishing for something, questions that probed past the surface, trying to see what you would reveal. People who used to walk past you without a glance, now watching you with calculated interest. Why? Because the moment you stopped shrinking to fit their comfort, the moment you stepped fully into your energy, it was like sending a flare into the atmosphere. Something in both the seen and unseen world took note. Imagine this. They're scientists staring at an anomaly they can't explain. You don't move like them. You don't think like them. You don't react like them. Every playbook they've used on others fails on you. That unsettles them more than they'll ever admit. Some of you might ask, what are they looking for? They're looking for your formula, your weak point, your tell. They're hoping to find the off switch to your presence. But here's the problem. They're dissecting something that can't be taken apart. You weren't built from their blueprint. You have no weak point they can exploit. They noticed you not because you demanded attention, but because your very existence broke their pattern. And when something doesn't fit the pattern, the world stares, studies, and speculates. But no amount of staring will give them the answer they're searching for, because you're not here to be decoded. They don't know what to do with you, and that's the way you like it. Number 10. When curiosity turns into panic. The more they try to read you, the more they realize the book was never written in their language. At first, it was just curiosity. They studied you like a puzzle, certain they'd crack the code if they looked long enough. But the more they examined, the less they understood. And confusion, chosen one, is dangerous. Because confusion breeds frustration, and frustration eventually curdles into fear. They realize something chilling. You see them too. You feel their presence, even before they step into the room. You sense the shift in the air, the quiet tightening of energy when all eyes subtly turn your way. You catch the tests they slip into conversation, the subtle prods, the calculated questions meant to measure your boundaries. But you never gave them what they wanted. You didn't flinch. You didn't scramble. You didn't let their games pull you off balance. And that, more than anything, unsettled them. You saw it all, the way their walk changed around you, the stolen glances they thought were invisible, the forced ease in their tone when speaking to you. You felt the hook hidden in their words, baiting you to reveal something they could use. They believed you'd never notice, but you did. The moment their attention shifted toward you, the entire atmosphere changed. People who once overlooked you suddenly studied you with the precision of a sniper, measuring every reaction. Their questions became sharper, their compliments more strategic, their interest a little too rehearsed. They wanted to see your hand, so you kept it hidden. You smiled when you were supposed to. You nodded at the right beats. You moved through the world as if their watchful eyes didn't exist. You gave them the illusion they craved, that you were ordinary, predictable, and safe to underestimate. And here's the part that terrifies them. They bought it. They truly believed you weren't aware of the game. They thought your stillness was ignorance, not strategy. Now they have no idea how much you've seen, how long you've been seeing, or what you plan to do with the truth you've collected. And nothing rattles a person more than realizing the hunter was smiling at them the whole time. Number 11. They showed their cards without knowing it. The biggest mistake a liar makes is assuming you're not keeping receipts. They mistook your silence for ignorance, chosen one, your patience for softness. They thought they were the ones in control, shuffling the deck, dealing the cards, deciding the game. But the truth, they were showing their hand the whole time, and you saw every single card. They revealed their intentions in the way their eyes lingered when you spoke. They revealed their alliances in the subtle shifts of who they stood next to and who they avoided. They revealed their strategies in offhand comments they thought were harmless. Every smirk, every sidelong glance, every too casual remark, documented, locked away in your mind. They underestimated you so badly they believed their own illusion. They thought your reality was shaped by their whispers. They thought their judgment could define your worth. And for a while you let them think that. You let them move freely, convinced they were ahead. You were never in the dark. You were waiting, watching. Then the shift came. Your silence became heavy. Your presence grew sharp. You didn't explain. You didn't defend. You moved deliberately but effortlessly, untouchable. That's when they realized the truth. They never had the upper hand. They tried to provoke you. A sideways comment here, a subtle insult there. Little traps designed to make you react. But you didn't bite. You sidestepped every setup, ignored every barb. The things that once got a reaction from you, now they don't even graze you. And that's when they started to spiral. Because your composure isn't just calm, it's unreadable. They can't figure out what you know, how much you've seen, or what you're planning. They can feel the energy shift, the balance of power tilting against them, but they don't know how to stop it. Here's the fact. They've already lost. The harder they try to regain control, the more desperate they look. The more desperate they look, the more they reveal. And the more they reveal, the deeper they sink. You are not who they thought you were. And the worst part for them? You always were this way. They just weren't paying attention. Number 12. The quiet that crushed them. Silence isn't weakness. It's the sound of someone who already knows they've won. They have no idea how much you've seen, chosen one. No clue how many of their secrets are already stored in your mind. And that mystery, it gnaws at them. They replay every word you've spoken, every move you've made, trying to pinpoint the moment they missed it. The sign that you were never what they thought you were. But you give them nothing. Your silence is heavier than any accusation. It wraps around them like a chokehold, forcing them to doubt everything they once believed about you. Because in their world, people defend themselves. They overtalk. They overshare. They scramble to prove their innocence, exposing every insecurity in the process. That's the rhythm they understand. Pressure makes people break. But you don't play by their rhythm. You never explain. You never justify. You never hand them the satisfaction of knowing what's running through your mind, and that terrifies them. They dangle bait in front of you. A loaded question, a passive-aggressive jab, a carefully staged situation meant to make you slip. But you never bite. Your restraint is surgical, precise. Every move is intentional. Imagine this. They're fishing in a vast, silent ocean, certain you'll surface eventually, but you remain unseen beneath the waves. They don't realize you've been watching them from below the whole time. You let them live in their own assumptions. You allow them to cling to their delusions, to believe their own lies. Because the truth you carry, they're not ready for it. If they were, they'd have to confront the thing they've been avoiding from the very start. That you are not someone they can control. And here's the twist. They're not even playing the same game you are. They think it's checkers, but you've been playing chess since before they even realized they were a piece on the board. You mastered the rules long before they knew the game existed. That's why your silence destroys them more than your words ever could, because it leaves them with only one opponent to wrestle with, their own mind. Number 13. The checkmate they walked into. The cleverest trap is the one you let them build for themselves. They're drowning in uncertainty now, overthinking every glance, dissecting every word, replaying every moment like it holds the answer to a question they can't solve. They're trying to predict your next move, but your greatest move was making them believe you even had one. They don't know your limits. They don't know if you're holding back, waiting, or already finished with the game. That doubt is the noose tightening around their own arrogance. Because here's the truth. A wise one can play the fool, but a fool can never play the wise. They thought they were playing you. Every step, every conversation, every smirk in their mind was part of some grand strategy. They believed you were reacting to them, that they had control. But while they were busy moving, you were watching. While they plotted, you were studying. And while they obsessed over their next move, you had already played 10 ahead. You knew their weaknesses, the pride that made them overextend, the arrogance that made them sloppy. Every fake smile, every hidden insult, every backroom scheme. They thought it all slipped past you unnoticed. But you saw it all. You let them keep going, knowing they were only tightening the snare they couldn't see. And then came the collapse. Not sudden, not loud, not dramatic, just inevitable. Every time they thought they'd gained ground, they were stepping deeper into the illusion you allowed them to believe. You didn't need to rush. You waited with precision. Patience was your weapon. When the moment came, it wasn't a grand exposure. It was a single move, a subtle shift, a carefully chosen word, enough to make the entire structure of their arrogance buckle under its own weight. They felt it instantly. The unraveling, the cold sting of realization that you were never blind, never behind, never at their mercy. Now they're standing in the wreckage of their own illusion, scrambling for explanations, desperate to regain control. But there's no game left to play. Because now they see what was always there. You had them figured out before they even knew the game had begun. And the cruelest truth of all, they lost before they ever had a chance to win. Number 14. Victory without lifting a sword. The easiest way to win a fight is to never step into the ring. You never needed their validation, chosen one. You never craved their approval. They were locked in a battle that existed only in their minds, one where your silence was ignorance, your patience was weakness, and your detachment was submission. But the truth they could never grasp was simple. They never had control, because you were never playing their game. While they lunged for power, you stood still. While they fought for dominance, you observed. Every calculated jab, every subtle provocation, every fake smile, they believed it was moving them closer to victory. But you knew better. You were letting them show their hand, letting them expose the hollow framework that held their arrogance together. And here's the irony. They spent all their energy trying to break you, only to shatter themselves. Now they're trapped in their own obsession, trapped in the realization that every move they made only locked your victory in place. You didn't need to gloat. You didn't need to prove anything. You didn't even need to witness the fallout. You don't argue. You don't explain. You don't give them the audience they so desperately want. Instead, you walk away. And that's the final move, the move they can't recover from. Because what they wanted more than anything was your attention. They wanted to know they mattered enough to get a reaction from you. But now, they'll never have it. They're left in the echo of your absence, haunted by unanswered questions, replaying every interaction like it holds the secret to their undoing. And the longer they search for that answer, the more they realize there isn't one, only the truth they've been avoiding from the start. You already won, without raising your voice, without proving a point, without playing their game at all. Checkmate.